Yeah, right now it is 90 degrees at 6:30 Fahrenheit at 6:30. You're in UK, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've only been there twice, and I've been in the summer both times. So I just remember it was like the sun wouldn't go down till like midnight over there. I was like, this is strange. Uh, but how's everything?
Yeah, it's good. It's not too bad. I'm still yeah. So work is good. I've been like doing this for 1 year now, so I'm like an amateur compared to you.
1 year. No, but you know what? I mean, in terms of time, maybe, but in terms of what you're doing, I've never been a CTA. I'm really glad you offered to come on the podcast because this is like a job that a lot of people can attain as their entry level position besides clinical research coordinator, clinical research assistant, but nobody ever talks about it because I think because nobody knows. So thank you so much, first of all, for agreeing to come on. And second, I tell us a little bit about your background.
So I started off my career as a biomedical scientist. I think in America you guys don't have that position.
We have scientists, we have like biomedical engineers, we have like PhD scientists. They work in the labs. They write papers. They try to get published. I actually talked to one yesterday. Um, I don't think he was a biomedical scientist, but he was definitely a scientist, like trying to publish a lot of papers.
Mm, yeah, so I did that for like 5 years. So
Mm,
yeah, so as an undergraduate, I did an internship for Public Health England.
okay, that's good.
Yeah, I kind of said a name there. So
Public
yeah,
health, English, yeah, but they don't nobody from there watch. I never received a message from
yeah.
anyone from them.
Okay. Yeah, well, okay, public health for the UK. So I worked
Okay,
as an intern and I qualified as a biomedical scientist,
what was your degree?
biomedical science.
Okay, bachelor's or how does one even do that? Let's talk a little bit about that. Like how I'm interested in that. How did you get into that position?
I just applied, like finished high school and applied for biomedical science. I wanted to be a doctor, but that didn't really work out. So I said, if I
Huh.
do like free med, I think that's what you guys call it. Yeah, free med classes. Yeah.
Okay. So, wow, because I was pre-med as well. Um, couldn't get in, and then I ended up becoming a coordinator. But the older I get, the more interested I'm actually. I've been in this industry since 2005. Okay, I've basically not really paid attention to the science because I don't need to. In my role as a coordinator and eventually as a site owner, you're more a business person than a scientist. Like the scientist is taken care of by the drug companies. So you're just executing a protocol. I know it sounds fancy, like, oh, you're doing clinical research. Everyone thought I'm experimenting in labs with tubes. That's not what we're doing. We're enrolling patients, following a protocol. The science is already like it's foolproof. They thought about this for you. You don't need to do anything, just document. But the older I'm getting, especially after COVID, I found myself like having a rekindling of my interest in science. So now I'm like reading a lot about science. I've never looked at the investigator brochures before in my life just to make sure they're there, but I never looked at them. I'm now for every study we're getting here in Arizona, we're getting like a study every 2 weeks. I'm looking at all of it. I'm interested in mechanism of action, all that stuff. So that your background is very intriguing to me. And maybe we should do a whole podcast like part two just on that. But this one we want to do on CTA. And you work for a large CRO. We're not going to name names. There's like six of them out there. So you guys guess. And by the way, Io, you want people to reach out on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I don't mind. People can reach out.
Io's LinkedIn is underneath this video and also in the podcast. If you're listening, thank you. Like, subscribe, comment, share, leave a review, connect with Io, tell her what's up. get to know her. Like she knows science. This is amazing. We're gonna talk a lot, Io. Okay, so how do you go from that to CTA? Like, how did you even realize this was a thing? Most people don't know what this is, CTA.
Yeah. So I think in my career in the lab, I went from public health, then I went to the health sector. Like we've got the National Health Service in England, so I worked there as a scientist. So I was working in microbiology and just working with like the clinicians to diagnose patients and figure out what antibiotic programs to put them on. So I think in 2020 I had like an enlightenment. So I felt
Hmm.
like, oh my gosh, it's a quarter life crisis. What am I doing with my life? Like,
Quarter life crisis during COVID. During COVID, or right
yeah,
before COVID,
yeah, just before like December 2019.
you
So
were having a quarter life crisis. What is this?
but
You're
I
very
was,
young, so what is a quarter life crisis?
yeah, I was thinking, where am I going? What am I doing? Like before the next decade of my life, I need to know what's going on.
You're
So
thinking way too much, Io. You've got like such a bright future. I don't know what you're thinking about. Are you out of this quarter life crisis now?
yeah, I am now. Thank God
Okay.
I'm
Thank God. Thank
out.
God. I thought this would
Yeah.
be a therapy session right now. Okay.
So I'm out now, but I just woke up and I said, I need to get out of the lab. I can't do this anymore.
Really? So you didn't like it?
I did for the first couple of years, but it wasn't my long-term plan.
Okay. What was it about it that you didn't like? Because I've never been in that experience. See, everybody's like a guru. I call all the guest gurus because you all have a story, and even that, like we can just have a podcast for an hour. We're not gonna do that now, but we're like just a brief summary of like for those who don't know, what do you do in the lab and why did you not like it?
Yeah, it was just the volume of work. So I'm trying to compare now, like, okay, did I have more work in the lab or do I have more work now in the CRO? But I
Which
guess
one?
they're different. It depends on how you look at it. So
Mm. So it depends on what you like, I guess, your affinities can change, but I think your science background can serve you well after you develop like I guess the infrastructure for your clinical research career because they like I think you can get into maybe regulatory affairs, medical writing if you want. There's a lot you can do. I think that your career trajectory is going to be interesting to follow, and I'm glad we're connected on LinkedIn.
oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to see what the future holds because I don't really know like where I'm going to be in 10 years. So we'll see what.
Wow. All right. So, how did you discover CTA? Like, what you're sitting in your lab um, with a pipette, and you thought, okay, CRO.
No, well, my aunt told me in 2018, she lives in Atlanta, and she said, oh, like one of her cousins, she's a CRA. And she said, oh, like you've got really good lab experience. Why don't you consider going down that path? Like you'll really enjoy it. It's good money. Like it's a really good job to do. So I said, oh, I'm not ready to get out yet. Like I don't even know how to get in. That's a whole complete career change. Like it just sounds like it takes too much effort. So I'll think about it later. So 3 years later, I said, you know what? I'm ready to get out. And I sat on LinkedIn. I did a lot of networking and sent out CVs. There's an organization in the UK called like Black Pharma.
Ah,
So
okay. Kind of like Black women in clinical research, but
yeah,
for pharma.
yeah,
Okay. So, how did they help? Did they help you out by like connections, networking, or what did you do?
yeah. So I was already applying for jobs and then I got like some interviews for some smaller CROs.
Hmm.
So the interviews were coming in and then I connected with Black Pharma and they were just like trying to support with interview tips. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so it kind of all worked out last
Shout
summer.
out to Black Pharma.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of them before, but I definitely didn't know Black women in clinical research because Danielle, she's been on the podcast. So maybe it's an example. So your aunt, you said, right? Your aunt
Yeah.
in Atlanta first opened your eyes maybe to this world of clinical research, and then you started to dive into it. Was your aunt working in this industry?
No, so her niece is working in the industry.
Ah, okay, okay.
So yeah. So then I said, okay, let me take a look at it. And I started applying. Then I found you on YouTube. So
Yes, this is how we go, guy. This is what's up. Okay, so and then you studied the videos,
yeah.
mainly the 5 hour one. And what was the job market like from when you opened your eyes? Because you didn't quit your lab job yet. So from the point of discovery, like auntie telling you, hey, you should consider this if you're having quarter life crisis. Look at research. This is probably good for you to when you started getting interviews? What was the time between those two periods? From
uh,
enlightenment to interviews?
that was like 3 years.
3 years.
But that was on my part because I wasn't ready to move. I was still comfortable in the lab at that point. So
Ah, too
yeah.
comfy. What was the turning point? COVID?
Yes, and the NHS. Yeah, the National Health Service. I said, "Oh, I don't know if I really want to stay in the lab. Like, this is a lot. There's so much work. Like, the
Did your
volume
job
of patients."
did your job completely change during COVID?
No, but I left public health and I went into like the health service laboratories. And when I got there, I said, "Wow, like there's so many patients. Like, this is a lot
Oh,
to
I
do."
see, I see,
Yeah.
I
And then I
see.
said, "You know what? I don't know if I want to stay here forever. Like, even if I
Mhm.
specialize in virology, like, does it make sense for me to specialize in like a lab setting, or should I take this experience now and then go over to pharma?"
I gotcha. So, okay, so the CROs, how many interviewed you before you got the job that you have now?
Um, well, I interviewed for like medical writers. I was applying for everything.
Ah, I
At
told
once.
medical writer. I knew it was like up your alley. Okay,
Yeah. So I interviewed, and then I said, "You know what? I think I really want to work for a CRO. Like, I can go into regulatory affairs, medical writing later. I don't have to do it now." So
okay. How did
yeah.
yeah, you can do it later. What did you how did you even know about CROs? Like from Black Pharma?
No, I think YouTube. So I watched you, and then I just Googled. I said, "I'm in."
Ah, all right, guys. I'm telling you. Okay, so then you applied CROs and you probably saw all these positions. You had no idea what they were. They all sound the same, but you applied to all of them.
Mainly CTA. I was trying to get into a
So
CTA
you
role.
knew what CT. Okay, and then your first interview. Did you do any interviews for clinical research, like not for medical writing, but for CTA? Did you get like hired where you are now, and after your first interview?
Yes, I did. So I got the smaller CRO. They really liked me, and then they said, "Oh, but we feel like we can't pay you a decent salary for your experience, so we feel like we're
Ah,
shortchanging." Yeah, so they were upset that, "Oh, we don't want to
they
shortchange
couldn't they couldn't afford you. You're expensive.
you."
Okay, okay. So then, wow. And what'd you tell them? Were you like, yeah, that's true? Like, did you need a certain salary um
Yeah,
before you can join? Okay, okay.
I said
That
that.
happens
Oh,
a
so
lot.
nice.
That
Yeah,
actually happens a lot to people from other industries who get somewhat successful. I mean, you're young, so you were climbing, so you were like not entry level anymore in your previous industry, which is a little bit ancillary. And sometimes when you get into clinical research, you got to take a step back in payment, but people don't realize on the other end of that is like a steep trajectory, but a lot of people can't afford that little dip before they go back up. But so sounds like that was you too. So you got the first one, but they couldn't afford you, so you had to keep interviewing.
yeah. So they turned me down because of that.
Okay.
And then they called me back 2 weeks later saying, "Oh, we'll take you, it's fine, like, we'll just try and take you, like, we really like you, and we'll try and take you." And then by that time, I'd gotten, like, where I am now, and I wanted to work where I am now, so
Wow. See, they made a mistake. Let's not name those people, but that was foolish. That was foolish. It was probably like chump change of what the difference between them having a great employee and not.
yeah, so I'm really happy
Unreal,
where I am.
unbelievable. Okay, so what do you do? Like, what was your first day like? What do they tell you? Do you work from home or you go somewhere?
Yeah, I go, like, once or twice a week.
Okay, so you have a like perfect setup because a lot of people like this hybrid. A few days from home, a few days from the office. I'm trying to do that with my own clinics now too. That I hired two coordinators. and we work with a lot of CTAs. We're getting like two new studies every month now, so we work with CTAs. They're always you guys are the ones always asking me, "Hey, did you complete your financial disclosure form for this person and that person?" And we're like, "Hey, hey, chill, chill. They're on vacation. All right, can't get it yet." Is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, so tell us about like day to day. What do you do?
So day to day is assisting the CRAs with document collection and the general maintenance of the TMF. So just ensuring that all of the
Trial
essential.
master file for people that don't know.
Oh yeah. So just filing and making sure that we have like a complete and accurately up to date TMF platform.
Can you give me a update? How many studies approximately do you work on at one time?
Um, well, I've got like 9 in total,
9. Okay, okay. And then how many sites on average per study?
maybe like 10.
Wow, so you're juggling a lot of stuff. And they're not all startup, right? Like they're at different phases of the like some are startup, some are maintaining, some are closeout, some are enrolling, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So I think like see, I've never done this job, but I know like in theory, and I know people who do it. And I've done those things like on a small scale with my CRO, and we did an investigator initiated trial, but it's nowhere near the same. Like it wasn't a full time thing. So you have to be like extremely organized. Do they give you the tools like the trackers and all that stuff to keep you up to speed, or are you having to create your own tools?
I create my own system.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, but to me, that was my least favorite part of doing what you do. I kind of did a little, but like to track even for one site, it's like so much. And so you set reminders in your calendar. Like, how do you do this stuff?
Yeah, I like sticky notes and I've got like a really good planner. So I've got like a really nice planner here that I like.
Okay, okay, all right. So, do you actually interact with sites? Like, do you call them and say, "Hey, we've been missing this from you. What's happening? What's going on?"
Yeah. So I email and call. If they're not responsive, then I would call.
And you talk to study coordinators.
Yes, site level. So they do have study coordinators on sites.
And in the UK, are you dealing mainly with academic medical centers, or are you dealing with private clinics like mine?
Private clinics and the health service clinics as well.
And all in UK or all throughout Europe?
Um, just UK. Yeah, so I don't have
Wow.
any European sites.
So UK is thriving. They have a lot of private clinics.
Yeah, and the NHS. Like, there's a lot of health service clinics on there.
I imagine that, but I didn't realize so many private clinics. Okay, because here in the US we have like mostly private clinics, and then each study is usually anchored by a few academic medical centers, but they're very slow. So then you have to like they're good for the name, but then you have to have like sites like mine that do the work, do the dirty work. Nothing against AMCs. Okay, so what's your biggest like enjoyment from what you do?
I do like the hybrid work setup. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, it's awesome because you can't get too bored at your home because then you go to the office and then you can't, you could get away from those people every now and then and come home. So you like both. You like interacting, but also like being alone.
Yes, and but then I feel like sometimes I work overtime a lot more from my house.
Yeah. People don't realize I learned during COVID, you work more from home than you do at the office. It's true
Yeah,
even today, like when I have a site, I do like a lot more socializing at the office than I do at home. Like at home, I'm here, I work on my computer, I do nonstop Zooms. I let my dogs out to go to the bathroom, and then I come back. At work, I'll go talk to this person, then this person comes, then this person tells me something, and then it's like 2 hours is waste already.
yeah, that's what happens. But it's nice. Like in the lab, you don't get that freedom. You're just in there concentrating like on your batches of samples, so you don't get the same freedom that you'd have.
trying to win a Nobel Prize over there in the labs. But that to me, that we got to do an interview on that. Okay, least favorite part of your job.
Um, I would say it's a lot of work, but depends on how you look at it. But I do enjoy it. That's the thing. So
But the work people don't understand. Even my coordinators, when they're new, I told them like it's a lot of work, but it's not like you're used to at your high volume clinic where you do like patient treatment, private practice. It's just I don't know how to explain it. It's like just paperwork and looking at like very detailed. Like they don't look at this level of detail in most industries.
yeah, and I don't like last minute file reviews. I don't like that.
Last minute file. What is the last minute file review?
So if you've got a closeout visit that you weren't prepared for, and then it gets rung upon you, like, oh, you've got 7 days.
Ah, so you have to get what, like the delegation log? You're looking at all that, like delegation log, end dates, IRB closeout form. Um, what else you looking at? Closeout visits. What are some of the documents that you're looking at? Like, what are you reviewing? What files?
Protocol amendments,
Mm, mm.
CVs, GCPs,
Ah,
um, yeah, FDFs, every single thing on the TMF, whatever's present needs to be reviewed, see if there's
gotcha. So,
anything.
like, whatever there was at startup, you're just confirming that anyone else who's on the study since then has it closing up the loose ends, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, Io. We only have 5 minutes left, and it's my fault because I slept in today.
Oh,
And I totally forgot, but we gotta do a part two because this people are gonna be really interested in this CTA. So, do you recommend? Oh, first of all, what's your goal for future? Like, are they grooming you to be a CRA? Do you have a line manager? How? What's going on?
yeah. So in February, I said, oh, should I be an RSU specialist? Like, should I go down that path? Because CRAs have to travel. Like, I don't know
What's
where I'm going.
RSV? Remote site visit?
Oh, RSU, so regulatory startup.
Oh, okay. Regulatory startup. Okay.
Yeah. So I was considering.
Do you have a line manager? Most of these big CROs have a line manager.
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So I
So
said,
you're
oh, I think
bouncing
I can
things
do
off
that.
of them and like, hey, this is something. And are they telling you like, oh, you might want to consider this?
Yeah. So she did like give me like some options. And then in July, I said, you know what? I'm going to do CRA now. I think I've made my mind up. I can still do it.
Okay, okay. You know
Yeah.
what? I criticize these big CROs a lot. I mean, they're not perfect. There's a lot that you can point out that they're doing wrong. But I think one of the best things they're doing right is the concept of this line manager. It's so brilliant because they know this is a competitive field. They know that someone like Io comes in. Okay, she's doesn't have a research experience, so we're gonna put her as a CTA, but she's smart. So after like a year, she already had a quarter life crisis. She's gonna want to go do something else. So we need somebody in charge of grooming her career so we can keep her here as long as possible, hopefully for life. I think that's a really good concept that the CROs need more credit for. I've interviewed like two line managers on this show, and they're amazing people from both from big CROs. So I I don't give CROs enough credit publicly for that, but that's one of the concepts that they've implemented, at least in our industry, that I think is amazing. I think sites need to do it, and yeah, it's commendable for the CRO. So that's really good to hear. And so CRA it is going to be for you. You think?
Yeah, I want to because like so I'm getting married. So I thought, oh, what happens like if I get
Ah,
married?
congrats, congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So then I was worried that, oh, but what happens after? But I've heard a lot of people on your podcast that have children and they're CRAs and
Mhm.
nothing's happened and you can still do
Yeah,
it.
it's doable, especially if you have a partner who like you guys work it out together. It's definitely doable. Do you think realistically you can do the CRA?
I hope by the end of this year, so by autumn.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I
And
really
so
hope.
you started as CTA when exactly?
July 2021.
Okay, so now it's August 2022 for those in the future. Hello. And so by December 2022, January 2023, you think you can be, and your line manager told you this is very possible?
Yeah, yeah, it is. They always
Wow,
suggest.
congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, so I got promoted 3 months ago. So yeah,
Promoted from what? From CTA to what?
CTA 1 to 2.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, so like senior CTA.
Wow, okay. This is awesome. The girls I'm working with, they're actually on a group text right now. We have Clinical Research University. So we have CRC Academy, CRA Academy, clinician for PI. We're working on a medical writer one, data manager. But one of the things they're talking about is a CTA Academy. So
Mhm.
we'd love to have you on again, like as a guest or something, because you might be one of the first CTAs on this podcast.
Oh
So thank you
wow.
so much for coming on. I can't remember if I had, like, I know I've had people who have been CTA in the past, but like current CTA, I don't think I've had one. So thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, I can see you're going to be a CRA and you don't mind the travel and all that stuff.
No, I don't mind. I think initially I was worried about it, like, oh, how often, like, will I ever be at home? Like, I like to cook my own dinner too.
Yeah, they used to treat the CRAs like pretty bad. They would send them out, but now I think they realize we can't overwork them because then a CRO competitor is going to take them, regardless how nice the line manager is. There's only so much you can do. So I think this hybrid remote monitoring visits sometimes. I know from my CRAs at the sites, like they come every 6 weeks, every 8 weeks, and their workload is less than what they used to be in the past. So I
Mm.
think that's another good thing that the CROs have been doing. Man, I'm giving the CROs a lot of love on this show. It's very weird. You have to go, right?
Well, like 5 minutes.
Oh, we got five
Yeah.
minutes. That's a
Yeah, no,
lot. You can change somebody's life in 5 minutes. What would
yeah.
you like to say? Maybe there's another IO, right, out there in the world. Maybe an IO in Iowa. All right, that's good. I like that sound of that. All right, and she is sitting there watching this, and she's like, "Wow, I'm having a quarter life crisis too. Like, what advice? Let's change her life in 5 minutes."
So I would say like nothing's stopping you from making any transition. So don't like delay. Try and do it as soon as possible because the more you delay, the more you're slowing yourself down. So just go for it. Like send out your CV or your resume, put the application in, watch a lot of
Mm.
YouTube videos, do a lot of reading and research, and before you know it, you will get to where you want to be.
Do you feel like you speak from experience? You feel like you delayed more than you should have?
Yeah, I think so because I didn't know how to do it. So I thought,
Yeah,
oh, like,
yeah.
what if I don't get a chance? Like I've never done this before.
So since there's 4 minutes left now, how do you do it? If you're that IO in Iowa right now, how do you do it? She's like,
Um,
okay, IO, you sold me. I will act today. But where do I start?
get yourself on LinkedIn and build your brand. So the first thing I did, my mum thought I was crazy, but I got a photographer to come to the house last year.
Really?
So
That's awesome.
he set a studio up and we took some LinkedIn pictures in my living room.
Wow. Did you
Yeah.
also do a photo dump on Instagram?
Yeah, I did like 3 pictures.
Okay, okay, good, good. So work on your brand. What
Yeah.
about the CV? Like, when did you start working on your resume? Like, when you're in the lab, and how did you tailor it to research, or did you not?
Yeah, I did a little bit, but I just focused on transferable skills. So, what skills can I bring in that is suitable, like communication skills, like delivering presentations,
Mm,
interpersonal skills. So, being able to relate to others. Like, we've all worked with many different people from different like disciplines. So, as long as you can
yeah.
relate all of that experience and the scientific knowledge from like the laboratory setting, because you would know a lot more about like the protocol in that sense and then you can just
Mm,
relay all of that information. So when you do get to the interview, you're just using your own previous experience to sell yourself alongside with the job description. So,
mm. Here's a hint for everybody. I don't care what industry you're coming from. An easy transferable skill besides organization, which you need to figure out, is efficiency and productivity. Because especially these CROs, it's what they care about. Every day for a pharma is $1 million per study. So you got to figure out how can you be efficient and how can you be productive without wasting time on their clock. And if you could figure that out to communicate as a transferable skill, that and organization and attention detail, you've got transferable skills. And you could probably do that from any industry. Sometimes you just got to get creative about it.
Oh, that's a nice tip for me as well.
Well, Latinos in Clinical Research, who one of the groups that we helped build the brand, posted this thing on LinkedIn yesterday. It's like 5 images of interview questions. I haven't even read them all. I had to glance through some of them, and I saw that one. I was like, yeah, wasted resources is a huge CRO concern. So
Mm,
how are you being productive every hour? Don't waste time. How are you going to do that for your employer? So figure that out. Wow, okay, what else can they do? So they tailor their CV, they get on LinkedIn, they work on their branding a little bit. What's next? Just ho send your CV, guys.
yeah, just keep sending it out. You may get a few rejections, but keep going, keep going, keep
Oh, not
going.
may, you will get a few rejected. Expect the rejections, guys. Expect the rejections, and who cares?
Yeah, you keep going. Like it is quite competitive, but as long as you have the perseverance and the drive, you will get something.
I think that, rejection I think I don't know if it's done on purpose in the industry, but people are I think it's a natural filter for the industry. Like it's not something the industry wants to fix because they're like, well, we only gonna if they're entry level, we only want people who really want to be here. So let them struggle a little bit to get interviewed. We don't care. I
Yeah,
think that's part of it. Like I don't know that like there's no incentive for them to fix it because they let the people who don't really they're just attracted maybe by money. They don't have the passion. Let them go work somewhere else. We don't need them.
yeah, I think so. But yeah, I think
Last
every
word, last piece of advice for this person in Iowa, like that we haven't mentioned yet, or anything for people watching.
just keep networking. Believe in yourself. And don't doubt your abilities. Don't doubt yourself because your confidence, it will always speak for you in certain cases as well. Your confidence and your persistence, like you can't go wrong with that. So just keep going, stay committed, persevere, and you will get somewhere.
Connect with Io on LinkedIn under the video and in the show notes in the podcast. Io, thank you so much. We're gonna do part two because we have to follow your career. All right. So at least when you get CRA, we got to do it, and then maybe on that one we can talk more about your background, like in the lab, because I think there's a lot of people watching that are actually in that position too, more than I'm probably thinking there are.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Io. Everybody go connect. It's so nice to share your story with us. And this is just the beginning, all right? We'll do this until your midlife crisis. Hopefully that won't be too bad. And then we'll keep doing them, Io. We're gonna follow you. We're connected now, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Io. Thank you, Guru Nation. Everybody like, subscribe, comment, share, and go connect with Io. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.